In the city of Catura, Paraguay, 25,000 people face overwhelming poverty. Catura is a slum built on a landfill in which over 3 million pounds of garbage are dumped daily. About 1,000 residents make their living by picking through the trash to find recyclable materials. Yet Fabio Chavez and conductor Luis Cesarin have infused beauty into the brokenness of those living in this harsh environment. These men started a music school to bring hope and dignity to the people of Catura. Beginning with just 5 instruments, they inspired a wave of eager young musicians to emerge. To meet the growing demand, they enlisted one of the trash pickers to help them create instruments from recycled materials. From oil cans to tin cans, they crafted a remarkable orchestra of miraculously redeemed instruments called the Landfill Harmonic. Chavez claims that this amazing story has taught him an incredible lesson. People realize that we shouldn't throw away trash carelessly. Well, we shouldn't throw away people either, he said. What a powerful truth this speaks to our hearts in our culture today. We live in a throwaway society, whether it be possessions or people. We quickly and easily discard furniture that's outdated or that doesn't match our new wall paint. We throw things away that break in small ways because we don't want to take the time to fix them. And I think we're tempted to do the same thing with people in our lives and in this world that seem too broken or needy. A deeply challenging question we can ask ourselves today is, what are we doing with the people around us and around this world who are living in extreme poverty and vulnerability? I'm so glad that you joined us for today's show because we're going to learn about a ministry that has taken on the mission of empowering the powerless in Africa. You're watching One Day Closer, where we're learning together how to use our one day closer to eternity to bring hope and purpose to many. We're here today in studio with Jim and Martha to learn about the African Children's Choir. Jim and Martha, it's such a privilege to have you on the show, and I'm so excited to have you here to learn about what the African Children's Choir is doing. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
It's so good to be here.
Our privilege. And let's just start a little bit about your story. So you've had personal experiences with the African Children's Choir. Let's start with a little bit about what the choir is and then how God's used it in your lives.
Okay.
Yes, I'll begin.
Sure.
The African Children's Choir is one of the 5 programs that is run by the mother organization, which we're calling Music for Life. Mm-hmm. And the main story is, the main goal for all this is to raise funds for for children back home in Africa. Mm-hmm. And we're focusing on poverty-stricken homes and families, and we are giving them a hope for tomorrow. Mm. Yeah.
Wow. And that's amazing. What can you describe a little bit about the poverty that you experience or the children that are going through the choir experiences so we have a better understanding of what that might look like?
Yeah, when we look at poverty, for example, me, I came from a very poor background. Mm-hmm. My mother and father weren't working at the time, and we were not going to school at the time. But thanks to Music for Life, I was picked out of so many children that also needed the opportunity, mm-hmm. and I was given a fighting chance through education and sponsored by Music for Life, the organization. And I was selected to be part of the choir program, and I joined choir number 16. And I traveled the world and was able to see so many places and see a world of possibility, which triggered my mind, which triggered my heart, and I got a passion and a dream to actually be better so that I'm able to go back home and make it a better place. Yeah. Starting from my family and probably go on to helping the country as well.
Wow, that's amazing. And so how are children chosen to be part of the choir? You said they chose you out of many children that could have used the opportunity.
Yeah, so we do have an auditioning that happens, which usually takes place, runs for about 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. So we have a group back home in Uganda that goes to the different places, and they focus on local schools, local churches, and also local centers, where they, call upon different families to come, bring their children that go through screening just to identify who needs the opportunity more. And once that is done, they get a group of about 50 children who they bring under their care and look at them and study them a bit more for about 4 or 5 days, from which they're able to select and choose a choir of about 17 to 20 children.
Wow, wow. And Martha, what was a little bit of your story?
My father died when I was only 2 years old, leaving my mother to fend for my brother and me. We shared a room, a small house with 11 other relatives in an area that is a slum. Yeah, so it was a difficult situation. My brother is the one who introduced me to church. Oh, wow. And this time the choir came to audition at our church. And that's how I was selected to be part of the choir in 2005.
Wow.
Yes.
So they look at both your background and who has the greatest need, and then also your musical ability? Because the choir is amazing. Or do they do the training? How does that work?
When it comes to ability, I think focus is more on the ability to learn.
Yes.
So many children come in not really knowing how to sing, but they're able to be taught. And once they realize, this child is teachable, then that could be another reason they are selected for tour. But then we also look at and focus on other, aspects. For example, the health of a child. There are children who have, chronic sickness and they're not able to travel.
Yes.
And this being a tour, we are ever moving from one place to another and coming to the Western world, that has 4 solid seasons. You'll find that some may not be able to handle maybe the coldness in the winter.
Yes, yeah.
So we try and focus on all those. And sometimes us being a Christian organized, non-government organization, we focus on the Christian faith.
Yes.
So in case a child is coming from a background or a family that is Muslim, they may not be in agreement to, they may not allow the child to join the organization, although they may be in need. Yeah.
So there's a lot of different factors.
Yes.
Wow. Well, we're going to take a quick break and then come back and learn more about this great ministry. Stick with us. We'll be right back to learn more about how God is using the African Children's Choir to empower the powerless.
Watch Lighthouse TV wherever you go. Available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. Search Lighthouse TV online on your streaming device or go to our website, lighthousetv.org, for more information.
Welcome back to One Day Closer. We're here with Jim and Martha to learn about the African Children's Choir. So Jim and Martha, we were just talking a little bit about Music for Life, which is a larger organization under which African Children's Choir is found, and how the mission is to, tell me what the mission is. I'll let you say it.
So the mission is, at the end of the day, the goal is to make change makers from the different vulnerable groups, but we focus more on children.
Yeah.
And they get empowerment through education.
Yeah.
So children that have been in war-torn areas, children that have been facing domestic violence, the goal and mission of the organization is to help them out of that and give them a fighting chance so that at the end of the day, they're able to be the change makers that the organization wants them to be, like it happened for us.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And the tagline, the vision is helping Africa's most vulnerable children today so they can
help Africa tomorrow.
Yeah. So that's that change maker that you're talking about, and finding children in those vulnerable positions and helping to rescue them and give them an opportunity. That's fantastic. And you mentioned earlier Jim, about the African Children's Choir. So you're touring in Western countries, and you said it opened an opportunity for you to see, I guess, more of the world, and then catch a vision for then going and using that to help your country.
Yeah.
Can you share, one of you share just a little bit about how that happens?
So I would use me as an example. Once I joined choir number 16 as a child, 7 years at the time, I had no idea. All I knew was what was surrounding me, the poverty, people taking alcohol and being drunk pretty much the entire time, women with raising children on their own.
Yeah.
That's all I knew. That's the world I knew in, violence. But once I was selected for the choir and got to travel, I saw, there's a better world out there. And that triggered my passion and dream. So I decided to see a world of possibilities, and my vision and goal changed immediately. I purposed to take advantage of the opportunity God had placed in my path through the sponsorship of Music for Life. And I went through school thanks to Music for Life sponsoring my education, completed, and I was able to graduate. Now I have a degree in social sciences, and I have used that education to try and make Uganda a better place. And also it begins with home, your family. We sometimes have gone ahead to provide fees, school fees for our relatives.
Wow.
Young brothers and sisters. We give them a helping hand because we were helped. That wouldn't have been possible if Music for Life did not come and help us through this.
Wow, yeah. So Music for Life helps after the African Children's Choir, because that's 8 to 10.
Yes.
Then Music for Life helps with the funding for education.
All the way to college.
And that's wonderful. And then you were saying as people graduate and they go and they're earning money, then they're helping support their brothers and sisters or relatives to have the same experience.
Yes, definitely.
So it's rippling out in affecting all these lives.
That's right.
That's excellent. And so Martha, this is your first year as a chaperone.
Yes, it's my first time.
Yeah, so what does it look like for you to be a chaperone for the choir?
You are a mentor to these children. You help them experience the tour the best way they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
wow.
it's really good.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And so it's a Christian organization.
Yes.
How are the children being pointed towards Jesus through the choir or through the other educational opportunities?
So we get time to have family devotions where we get to share the word with the children. And currently we are going through a series of telling them, showing them God in each book in the Bible. Yes.
Wow, that's great.
Yes.
Wow. And what has been an example of someone, I know you're two examples, so you can share your story, but just the way that the choir really turned someone's life around? All the students, I'm guessing, but particularly in specific ways.
Okay. Best example is Mark Masai. He's Kenyan, and he was in choir number 10. He was also coming from a very poor family as well, but through the choir, he was taught to dream, and through the sponsorship of by the organization Music for Life, he was able to acquire education and graduated, and now he works with a broadcasting company called NTV. In Kenya.
In Kenya, wow. That's amazing.
It is.
And it's, as you mentioned before, just the opportunity to get out and see different things that are going on in the world opens the eyes of the children to be able to dream and think about how they can then go back to their own country and use this.
Yes, because these children grow up with only the slum surrounding them. So all they know is the poverty. All they know is the single room that they've been living in their whole lives.
Yeah.
All they know is the school next door where they go to study. So when they come to, let me say, the US, they're able to see these tall buildings. They're able to be hosted in families that are loving, that are Christian, and this opens up their mind to a whole new world.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And have you seen, so we obviously all the students are being affected. Do you have any stories of those who've been able to hear your story or the stories of the children, hear the choir, who've been inspired to support what you're doing or to do other similar things?
Yeah, we've had cases where choir children, former choir children, have grown, they have graduated and attained a degree, and so many have started working, but then they always had that vision, how can I do the same? How can I extend this? So then they eventually start their own non-government organizations with the same kind of mindset to extend help to vulnerable children and groups.
Wow, so that's multiplying. They're getting the experience, seeing it, and then going and starting their own organizations to help. I wonder, whoever founded the...
Ray
Bennett, is he still alive?
No, he passed away this year.
Okay.
2nd September.
Yeah.
So he's with Jesus now.
Yeah. But he left a legacy.
Yeah, he left a legacy, and he got to see some of this expansion before he went home to be with the Lord. Yes. Wow. What is the, why do the kids go on tour for the choir?
So the children come on tour to raise funds for when they go back home. So they come on tour to get sponsorship that will help push them through the education. Yes. Okay,
so when they're on tour, that's part of how they're raising funds to go back then and be able to go through the education.
Yes.
And so you're putting on different choir concerts on tour, and that lasts for a year for each choir, or how long does the actual tour last?
So the tour we are on is a 6-month tour.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you go to churches, organizations. Where do you primarily go for these concerts?
We go to churches, we go to schools, we have some workshops like exchange programs with schools in the US. Yeah.
So what does an exchange program look like?
We go to that school and we tell them about Africa, what we eat, how we play. Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Working with the kids and just expanding more. Also, just as you do in the West, we need to be able to see what it's like for other countries and how they're functioning, and have our eyes opened to different cultures as well. It's going to be easy in Western cultures to be kind of isolated in our own space,
So it definitely works both ways.
Yes.
Because as children do travel and come out here, it's a different culture, like you said.
Yeah.
And once they go for the program, as Martha has mentioned, what we are calling the workshops, they're able to teach a thing or two about the African culture. And at the end of the day, we try and spend time with the children, in those different schools. They play with them, just for them to have an interaction and know that, we may be different in color, but we are the same people, the same children, and we all, have fun together and everything.
That's fantastic. How do the churches, organizations, schools, how do they connect to have the children's choir come in? Do you reach out to them, or if there's an organization that's interested, can they reach out to you?
So what happens, we do have a booking personnel. So we have different offices. We have an office Bellingham, Washington, and also another office in Canada, Langley.
Okay.
And we have offices in the different African countries, Uganda, Kenya, and Rwanda. And at the end of the day, before we travel, there is booking that happens through the office. So they reach out to different churches who may be interested in hosting or in hosting the choir. And once they are interested, they get a specific date when the choir will come and perform at the church.
Okay.
Yes. So by the time the choir is traveling, they have a route or they have an itinerary that they are following that potentially takes them throughout, the 6 months of travel or tour. Yeah.
Yes, that's great. And you're singing, the songs you're singing, hymns and other types of music, or what are generally the songs?
So we are singing mainly old hymns, but we've given them an African touch.
Yeah. I think we could use that in a lot of our churches. Little energy.
Then we have like drum solo, where the children jam. We have African dance, where they show, how we dance in Africa. Then we also have a can dance, where the children show, long time ago, before the footballs came and all that, children will get the available material and play with. So the cans make a kind of rhythm. Yeah, so we show that kind of thing on stage.
Oh, wow. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, we're out of time, but Jim and Martha, thank you so much. This has been a privilege to learn about what God's doing in and through you and through the African Children's Choir. So thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Brendan, for having us.
You bet.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. We're going to be right back to learn more about how we can apply some of this to our own lives.
Watch Lighthouse TV wherever you go. Available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. Search Lighthouse TV online on your streaming device, or go to our website, lighthousetv.org, for more information.
I love the story in 2 Chronicles 20 of how God delivered his people from a seemingly hopeless situation. 3 nations around Israel had joined together and they were coming to attack Judah. King Jehoshaphat was afraid, and so he went to the Lord in prayer, as did the rest of Judah. God assured them that they did not need to fear this great army coming against them because the battle was his. He told his people to go out into battle the next day and that he would be with them. And Jehoshaphat went out with an interesting battle strategy. He appointed people to sing praises to God, and he sent them out to go ahead of the army. And as they sang and praised God, the Lord set an ambush against the attacking nations, and they turned against each other and destroyed each other instead of Judah. What an extraordinary example of God turning a hopeless situation into songs of thanksgiving and praise that ended in the rescue of his people. And what an incredible instance of God bringing a beautiful melody amidst overwhelming difficulty. Brothers and sisters, what would it look like if we were committed to stirring up songs of hope in the hearts of the hopeless in our lives and in this world, because we help them see more clearly the majesty and beauty of our great God? Here are some steps that you can take today to begin bringing songs of hope into the lives of the hopeless around you and around this world. First, get alone with God right after this show for 10 minutes. Put on one of your favorite worship songs and just sing praises to our awesome God. Second, after the worship song ends, ask God to bring someone to mind who is vulnerable and powerless. This could be someone in your family, in your neighborhood, your church, your community, or across the world. Third, ask God how he wants you to help bring his love and redemption more fully into the life of the person he brought to your mind. Fourth, write down the first, smallest step you can take to begin moving toward that person in love. And write down the day and time that you're going to take that first step. And finally, watch and wait as God does meaningful and powerful things because of your obedience to him. Thank you so much for joining us for One Day Closer, where we're learning together how to use our one day closer to eternity to bring Jesus-infused hope and purpose to many.